Hello, friends. Hi. A very good morning to all of you. Hope you guys are doing great. In the last session, we started with process costing. In fact, in the last two sessions, we discussed process costing, wherein we discussed few concepts relating to process costing. That is normal loss, abnormal gain. Apart from this, we discussed questions on basics of process costing. Thereafter, what if in case if inter-process profit is included? Thereafter, we discussed the concept of equivalent number of units. In this, we discussed a basic question relating to equivalent number of units. Now, let's discuss one more question on equivalent number of units, wherein in a question there is an abnormal loss or abnormal gain or normal loss. So without wasting time, let's start, guys, with the concept of equivalent number of units. Example number 6, wherein if in question normal loss, and abnormal gain is given. Very good morning to all of you guys. Very good morning, Muskan. Now, before starting with this question, let me discuss few concepts. What if in case normal loss is given? What if in case abnormal loss is given? And what if in case abnormal gain is given? Now, guys, if in question information is given as regards normal loss, we have to ignore while calculating equivalent number of units. Why we have to ignore? Because anyways, because of normal loss, the product cost is to be inflated. That's why if normal loss is given in the question, we have to ignore it while calculating equivalent number of units. Very good morning. As far as abnormal loss is given, if abnormal loss is given, we have to follow the instructions as given in the question, that how much the units are processed in case of abnormal loss. So, follow the instructions given in question. Abnormal gain, we have to assume in case of abnormal gain, since it is a saving in normal loss, so in case of abnormal gain, we will assume that it is 100% complete in respect of material and other expenses. Whatever it is, whether it is labor, overhead, we will assume that it is 100% complete. So I repeat again, in the last question of equivalent number of units, no information was given as regards normal loss, and abnormal gain. But what if in case, if in a particular question information is given as regards normal loss or abnormal gain, we have to follow the following assumptions, wherein if it is normal loss, we have to ignore it while calculating equivalent number of units. As far as abnormal loss is concerned, we have to follow the instructions as given in the question. Let's say if in question it is given material is 100% complete, labor and overheads are 60% complete. So we have to follow the instructions that are given in the question. As far as abnormal gain is concerned, very simple. You have to assume that it is 100% complete, since it is a saving in normal loss, that's why. So I request you guys to please copy this part. Thereafter, we'll start with example number 6 of the material what I have provided. Very good morning, Mr. Gandhi. Very good morning, Dipanshi. Radhika will surely try to. Very good morning, Pooja. Very good morning, Srishti. So I repeat again, guys, if it is normal loss, ignore it while calculating equivalent number of units. If it is abnormal loss, follow the instructions that are given in the question. And if it is abnormal gain, always assume that it is 100% complete. So let's start with example number 6 of the material what I have provided. Now I'll be these questions. This question can also be solved using FIFO method or weighted average method. So we'll be discussing weighted average method. FIFO method will be a homework for you. Now following details are related to the work done in the process A of XYZ company during the month of March 2020. Opening work is progress is given, that is 2000 units. Material is given, that is 80,000. Labor is given, that is 15,000. Overheads is given, that is 45,000. Material introduced in the process A, that is 38,000 units. The cost is given, that is 14,80,000. The direct labor is given, overheads are given. Units scrapped, total number of units that are scrapped is 3,000 units. The degree of completion is 100% complete and 80% complete in case of labor and overheads. As far as opening work in progress is given, this the material is complete by 100% and labor and overheads are completed by 60%. 60%. Now this is a hint that we can solve this question either using FIFO method or weighted average method. If this information is not given in the question, then it can be solved using only weighted average method. But see, they have given that how much percentage of opening work in progress is complete. Anyways, closing work in progress is 2,000 units. The degree of completion is given, that is material is 100% complete in respect of closing work in progress. And labor and overheads is 80%. Units finished and transferred to the next process is 35,000. Normal loss is 5% of the total inputs, including opening work in progress. Perfect. The scrap value per piece is ₹20. You are required to prepare statement of equivalent production, statement of cost, statement of distribution of cost, process A account, normal loss account, and abnormal loss account. Very good, Riya. Namrata Surve. See, Namrata, if it is a normal loss, then you have to ignore while calculating equivalent number of units. If it is abnormal loss, then you have to follow the instructions that are given in the question. And if it is abnormal gain, then very simple, you have to assume it as 100%. So let's start this question, that is example number 6. Let's prepare process account. Two opening work in progress will write, that is 2,000 units. The total cost of opening work in progress is 80,000 plus 15,000 plus 45,000. That is total 1,40,000. Inputs are 38,000 units and the cost is 14,80,000. So to material, $38,000 units. And the total cost is 14,80,000. Labor is 3,59,000. Overheads are 10,77,000. Now it is given in the question that normal loss is 5% of the total input, including opening work in progress. So by normal loss, that is 5% of the input that are made during the year plus opening work in progress. So 38,000 plus 2,000, that is 40,000, and 40,000 into 5%, that is 2,000 is the normal loss units. Further, it is given in the question that the scrap value realized is rupees 20 per unit. So therefore, the total scrap value will be 40,000. Thereafter, by next process, since it is the first process, so by next process, see, it is given in the question that following are details relating to work done in process A account. So by process B, it is given in the question that total number of units transferred to the next process, units finished and transferred to the next process is 35,000. Further, closing work in progress is given. That is, closing work in progress is 2,000 units. Now guys, let's check if there is any abnormal loss or abnormal gain. So total inputs were 2,000 plus 38,000, that is 40,000. Out of 40,000, 2,000 was the normal loss, 35,000 are the number of units transferred, and 2,000 is closing work in progress. So still 1,000 units are left out, and that will be abnormal loss. That is 1,000. Further instructions are given in the question that total number of units that are scrapped are 3,000. So out of that 3,000, 2,000 is the normal loss and 1,000 is the abnormal loss. Now, since the information is given as regards work in progress, so we have to prepare a statement of equivalent production to calculate the value of these three items. That is abnormal loss, the units that are transferred to the next process. One second, guys. The units that are transferred to the next process and closing work in progress. So we have to first prepare statement of equivalent number of units. So let's start, guys. The first column is the same, that is particulars. Thereafter total. Thereafter material. Since the percentage of completion of labor and overheads are same in all the cases, so only one column will be prepared for labor and overheads. Further, in case of material, labor and overheads, we have to divide it in two parts, percentage and units, and percentage and units. Now let's start, guys. We are solving this question using weighted average method. As I told you, in weighted average method, no need to do bifurcation. How much is opening work in progress? How much are the units transferred from this process? Simply write units transferred. Total number of units transferred are 35,000. Since they are transferred to the next process, so we will assume that they are 100% complete. So in case of material, 35,000, and in case of labor and overheads also 35,000. Now, the next is closing work in progress. The total number of units is 10,000. Now let's see what is the detail. What are the details given in the question? See, in case of closing work in progress, the total number of units are 2,000, and the degree of completion in case of material is 100%. So 2,000 into 100% in case of material, that is 2,000. In case of labor and overheads, it is 80%. So 2,000 into 80%, that is 1,600. Now the next point, that is abnormal loss. The abnormal loss is given in the question, that is 1,000. We have already figured out that is how much is the abnormal loss number of units. So it is 1,000. Further, the information is given in the question that the units scrapped in aggregate are 3,000. That is 2,000 of normal loss and 1,000 of abnormal loss. And the degree of completion is given, that is material is 100% complete. So 1,000 into 100%, 1,000. And labor and overheads are 80% complete. So 1,000 into 80%, that is 800. Now, abnormal loss, we have considered the units that are transferred to the next process, we have considered, and closing work in progress, we have considered. As far as normal loss is concerned, as I told you, we have to ignore it. So now we are done with the statement. So let's calculate the equivalent number of unit in total. 35,000 plus 2,000 plus 1,000. Total 38,000 units. And herein, $37,400 units. So we are done with the statement of equivalent number of units. If you guys have any doubts in this part, you guys can please ask me. Waiting for your queries now. Mr. Samir, I request you to please refresh your system or network. If you guys have any doubts, any queries, you guys can ask me. Riya Bhatia, Radhika, Jay Gandhi, Riya Goyal, any doubts? Mr. Sunil? So guys, I think there are no queries from your end. So let's proceed further, guys. We are done with process account and we have to find out these three values. That is the value of abnormal loss, the value of units that are transferred to the next process, and the value of closing work in progress. So now thereafter we have prepared the statement of equivalent production. This statement is prepared using weighted average method, wherein we have considered a unit transfer, that is 35,000, assuming they are 100% complete. So 35,000 into 100% in case of material, labor and overhead. In case of closing work in progress, we have to follow the instructions that are given in the question, and it is given that material is processed by 100%, labor and overheads are processed by 80%. As far as abnormal loss is concerned, further again we have to follow the instructions that are given in the question, and it is given in the question that units scrapped, the percentage of completion of units scrapped is material 100% and labor and overheads is 80%. Let me check, there are a few queries. Vrinda Agarwal sir, what do you mean when we say labor is 80% complete and material is 100% complete? See Vrinda, it means that the entire material is put into the process. So that's why it is 100% complete. As far as if it is given in the question that labor is 80% complete, it means what? 80% of the labor work is done. Still 20% need to be done next year. I repeat again, Vrinda, if it is given in the question that material is 100% complete and labor is 80% complete, it means what? That the entire material is put into the process relating to that closing work in progress. But the labor work, that is the percentage of completion of labor work, is only 80%. The balance 20% labor have to complete. The balance 20% work that is to be done by labor is still incomplete. So this much about statement of equivalent number of units. Now we have to calculate the cost per unit also. Now we'll take each and every item one by one. So starting with material. Now since we are solving this question using weighted average method, and I've already discussed, we have to while calculating the cost per unit, we have to consider the cost that is incurred during the year plus the cost of opening work in progress. So it is given in the question that material cost is 80,000. That is for opening work in progress. Further, the material cost that is incurred during the year is 14,80,000. Now, very important point, guys. Since in this question there is normal loss, so whatever the scrap value realized, that is 40,000, will be deducted from the material cost. Don't forget, guys, whatever the scrap value, what we were doing in normal process account, whatever the scrap value realized, we used to deduct it from the total cost. So herein, in case if it is a concept of equivalent number of units, while calculating the cost per unit, whatever the scrap value realized will be deducted from the material cost. So divided by equivalent number of units, that is 38,000. As far as labor is concerned, the cost that is already incurred and opening work in progress, that is 15,000, plus the labor cost that is incurred during the year, that is 3,59,000, divided by equivalent number of units, that is 37,400. So 15,000 plus 3,59,000 divided by 37,400. So this will be rupees 10 per unit. Now overheads. In the same way, that is in opening work in progress, the overheads incurred are 45,000 plus overheads incurred during the year, that is 10,77,000 divided by equivalent number of units. That is 37,400. So this will be rupees 30 per unit. Now let me check. There are a few queries. Vivek, there is a query from Vivek, a very long query. In short, see Vivek, is asking a question that, sir, why we ignore normal loss while calculating equivalent number of units? See, as I discussed initially also, if it is normal loss, then the product cost will be inflated. Let's say if we do consider these 2,000 units, that is instead of 38,000, there are 40,000 units, assuming that material is processed by 100%. So it will be divided by 45,000, 40,000. So the product cost will be reduced. So this is not the case. So as I discussed in the last session, or I mean in the first session, that whatever the normal loss is, whatever the cost that is, whatever the cost that is relating to normal loss is, it is to be borne by the good units. So in short, if it is normal loss, then the product cost will be inflated. That's why we have ignored normal loss in calculation of equivalent number of units. I have discussed the first question also, where I have explained in detail that why we are not considering the normal loss units. Miss Ruchita, sir, why we are not deducting the scrap value from labor, assuming, see, if it is a scrap, it means it is a scrap of raw material only. That's why. Ria Goyal, in most of the cases, information will be given in the question. In fact, all the cases, information will be given in the question as regards the percentage of completion of abnormal loss. If the scrap value is realized in case of normal loss, it will always be deducted from material, because if it is a scrap, it means what? It is a scrap of raw material only. Miss Pooja, see, whatever the value that is allocated or apportioned to abnormal loss, it is anyways going to be transferred to costing P&L. That's why we are ignoring the scrap value of abnormal loss. If it is abnormal loss or abnormal gain, it is to be transferred to costing P&L, and the product cost will not be increased or decreased because of abnormal loss. That's why we are ignoring the scrap value that belongs to abnormal loss. Anyone else having any query? Hopefully, Vivek, your doubt is resolved. Since, I repeat again for you, Vivek, since if it is normal loss, the product cost is to be inflated. So if normal loss is considered here, it means what? The value will not be absorbed by good unit. That's why we have ignored normal loss while calculating equivalent number of units. So now the statement of cost per unit is over. Now let's start with statement of distribution of cost. Now the first one is units transferred. So total number of units that are transferred are 35,000. So 35,000 into the total cost, that is 40. Since it is 100% complete, so 35,000 into 80, 28 lakh. So the first figure we have calculated, that is the value of 35,000 units that are transferred, that is 28 lakh. Now the next is, let's calculate the value of abnormal loss, wherein material, the equivalent number of units are 1,000. So 1,000 into 40. In case of labor, the equivalent number of units are 800. So 800 into 10. And in case of overheads, the equivalent number of units are 800. So 800 into 30. So this will be the cost that is apportioned to abnormal loss. That is 40,000 plus 8,000 plus 24,000. That is 72,000. How these calculations are made, I have already discussed in the last session. Last but not least, the closing work in progress. In case of material, the equivalent number of units are 2,000. So 2,000 into 40. In case of labor and overheads, it is 1,600. So labor, it is 1,600. And overheads also, it is 1,600. So 1,600 into 10 and 1,600 into 30. One lakh 44,000. So this is how this total cost minus this amount is to be apportioned to abnormal loss, process, the units that are transferred to process B, and closing work in progress. So this is all what about the statement of equivalent number of units in this case. Now if you guys have any doubts, you guys can please ask me. Yes, Ria Goyal. Mr. Vivek, hopefully your doubt is resolved. Miss Ruchita again. Sir, why we are deducting normal loss from not from labor? See, when talking about scrap value, it is a scrap value of raw material, not of labor or overheads. Even in practically also the raw material is only scrap. That's why we have deducted it from the cost of raw material. Ria Bhati, I request you to please download the material what I have provided. So this is all what about this question. If you guys have any query, you guys can ask me. In the meanwhile, those who want to copy this solution can please copy. I'm giving you 2 minutes time, guys. Waiting for your queries, guys. If you guys have any doubts, you guys can please ask me. Waiting for your queries. Yes, Mr. Chandrasekhar. Anyone having any doubts now? Mr. Sunil, Harsh Goyal, Dipanshi, Vrinda Agarwal, Siddharth, Miss Memon, Namrata, Jay Gandhi. Because after this, I will not be discussing anything on process account or process costing. So we have to start with a new chapter. Ria Bhati, I request you to solve the practice questions from the old practice manual. Old practice manual have many questions relating to process costing. So for additional practice question, you can refer the old practice manual. This question can be solved using FIFO method also. Radhika Verma sir, why abnormal loss is taken in the statement of equivalent production? The reason is that if we are not taking abnormal loss, the product cost will be inflated due to abnormal reasons, and it is incorrect. So that's why we are taking abnormal loss as a part of equivalent number of units, so that it cannot affect the cost per unit. If we are ignoring normal loss, that is to inflate the cost per units. That's why we are ignoring the normal loss. But if we are not considering abnormal loss, it is incorrect. The reason being, if we are not considering abnormal loss, the product cost will be inflated, and that is incorrect. That's why we are considering abnormal loss in equivalent number of units. It is intermediate, Ria. Okay, guys. Now a question for you. Let's see who can answer this question. Let's say the input is of, let's say the opening work in progress is given in the question. That is 2000 units. As far as material is concerned, it is 100% complete. And labor is concerned, it is 60% complete. Inputs made during the year, let's say 50,000 units. Let's say normal loss is 5% of inputs units transferred to the next process is, let's say, 45,000 closing work in progress is given in the question. That is, 1 second, guys. I'm framing a question. Let's say 5,000 units. Now you guys have to prepare the statement of equivalent number of units. Further, in case of closing work in progress, it is given that material is 100% complete and labor and overheads 80% complete. So waiting for your answers, guys. You guys have to calculate equivalent number of units for material, labor and overheads. I repeat again, the opening work in progress is 2,000 units. As far as material is concerned, it is 100% complete. Labor and overheads is 60% complete. The inputs made during the year is 50,000. The normal loss is 5% of input. The units transferred are 45,000 and the closing work in progress is 5,000 units. You have to prepare the statement of equivalent number of units and you have to tell me what is the answer for material and labor and overheads. I request you guys to please solve this question right now. You have to calculate the equivalent number of units for material, labor and overheads using weighted average method. So waiting for your answers, guys. I repeat this question, guys. Opening work in progress is 2,000 units, which are processed 100% in case of material, labor and overhead 60%. The input that are made during the year is 50,000 units. The normal loss is 5% of inputs. The units that are transferred to the next process is 45,000. And the closing work in progress is 5,000 units, which is completed which is complete 100% complete in case of material and labor and overhead it is 80%. So waiting for the answers, guys, quick. Let's see who answers this question first. Waiting for the answers. Very good, Harsh. I've got the answer from Harsh. Let me check whether it is correct or incorrect. Ria Goyal, I just want the final answer, Ria. Harsh, your answer is incorrect. Ria Goyal, till now your answer is correct, but again I want the final answer, Ria. Ria Bhatia, incorrect answer. Still waiting for your answers. Rohan Jain, I got your answer. Let me check. Shrishti, Vivek. Still waiting for the answers. I've got answers from Mansi Sinha, Ria Goyal, Kushal, Dipanshi Sharma, Vrinda Agarwal, Rohan Jain. Again, you want to correct your answer. Vinod K. Let me check Vinod. Sandeep Sandhu. Yes, Kushal, it is a very easy chapter. Anyways, guys, now see the total input, the total opening work in progress is 2000 and the input made during the year is 50,000. So total we have 2,000 units in hand. Out of this, the normal loss is given in the question. That is 5% of the input that is made during the year. So this will be 2,500. That is 5% of 50,000. Units are transferred. That is 45,000. Thereafter, closing work in progress is given in the question, and this is 5,000 units. So we have total 52,000 units, and we were expecting a production of 49,500 units. Out of this 49,500 units, 45,000 units were transferred, and 5,000 units are still in process. It means what? We have extra 500 units. So these 500 units is what my abnormal gain. And Pooja, as I told you, if it is abnormal gain, we will assume that it is 100% complete. Let me solve this question now. So very simple, guys. Units transferred, that is total units transferred, are 45,000. And they are 100% complete, that is 45,000. As far as closing work in progress is given, it is 5,000. and material is processed 100%, so it will be 5,000, and labor and overheads are processed up to 80%, so 4,000. Since abnormal gain is given in the question, so it will be reduced, that is 500 units, and since it is 100% complete, so minus 500, 100% minus 500. So the final answer will be, now since abnormal gain is added, abnormal loss is added, so abnormal gain will be deducted in the statement of equivalent number of units. So the final answer will be 49,500. And this will be 48,500. Now let me check whose answer is correct. Riya Bhatia, you can please recheck your answer. Harsh Goyal was correct. Harsh Goyal, your answer was correct. Apart from Harsh Goyal, I don't think. Vrinda Agarwal, your answer is partially correct. Only I think Harsh Goyal answer was correct. Apart from Harsh Goyal, no one was able to answer this question. I request you guys to please revise the concepts. And if you guys have any doubts in this question, you guys can please ask me. Waiting for your queries. Very good, Dipanshi. No worries, Sairam. Muskan, your answer is partially correct and partially incorrect. Anyways, guys, okay, still we have time. Let me give you one more question. Now, guys, solve this question using FIFO method. The same question you have to solve using FIFO method. In the last question, only Harsh Goyal was able to answer. Now, let's see who answers first. The same question you guys have to solve using FIFO method. So, waiting for your answers, guys. I didn't check, Riya Bhatia. Let me check once again your answer. Riya, your answer was incorrect. You have mentioned material as 52,000 and labor as 49,800. Thereafter, it was 50,500 and 49,500. So both the answers were incorrect, Riya. Anyways, guys, solve this question using FIFO method, wherein material is processed by 100% and labor is processed by 60% in case of opening work in progress. Waiting for your answers, guys. If abnormal gain is given in the question, then it is to be deducted, Ruchita. I've got answer from Ria Goyal. Let me check, Miss Goyal. I have to check whether your answer is correct or incorrect. Still waiting for the others to answer. I've got answer from Dipanshi. Let me check Dipanshi. Sambhavi Pandey, sir, why a opening work in progress is not taken? I request Sambhavi to please refer the earlier sessions of process costing. Waiting for your answers, guys. Still waiting for your answers, guys. This question need to be solved using FIFO method. Now I have got answers from many. Mansi Sinha, Shubhang Tiwari, Ria Bhatia. Still I've got answer from 7-8 students only. Other guys, I mean, you guys are sleeping or what? Waiting for your answers. I want this session to be interactive, guys. Try to solve this question. I'm waiting for your answers, guys. I want everyone to participate in the session. At least I want answers from 60 to 65 students. If you are not going to answer, I'm not going to keep the question and answer session at the end of all my sessions. So if you guys want me to keep a query session, I want you guys to answer it correctly. Waiting for your answers again, guys. I've got answers from Dipanshi, Ria Goyal, Mansi, Ruchita, Shubhang, Dipanshi, Ria Bhatia, Sairam, Harsh Goyal, Vinod K, Sandeep Sandhu, Jay Gandhi, Vrinda Agarwal, Shrishti, Namrata, Harsh Goyal, Vivek Shifonde, Vrinda Agarwal, Miss Pooja, Shubhang, Mr. Dubey Sunil. Still waiting for the answers, guys. I want everyone to participate in this session. Let me check who has understood clearly what is the concept of equivalent number of units. Now see, guys, total number of units that are transferred are 45,000. Since it is a FIFO method, so we will assume 2,000 units will be transferred from opening work in progress, and balance 43,000 units will be transferred from the inputs that are made during the year. So opening work in progress 2,000 and units started and completed is 43,000. Now opening work in progress is already completed in respect of material, so nothing is done in this year. As far as labor and overheads is concerned, it is completed by 60% last year. So balance 40% will be completed this year. So 2,000 into 40%, that is 800. Similarly, since 43,000 inputs were made during the year, so since they are transferred to the next process, so we will assume they are 100% complete. So 43,000 into 100%, that is 43,000. 100%, that is 43,000. So this is all what about the accounting of 45,000 units that are transferred. Now the closing work in progress, since the units, these closing work in progress are from the inputs made during the year, and it is given that the closing work in progress is of 5,000 units. So 100% complete in respect of material, that is 5,000, and 80% completed in respect of labor and overheads, so 4,000. Now abnormal gain, this is of 500 units, so 100% complete in respect of material, and assuming 100% complete in respect of labor also, so 500. So now we can calculate the final answer, that is 43,000 plus 5,000 minus 500, that is 47,500 for material, and for labor and overheads it will be 800 plus 43,000 plus 4,000 minus 500. So it will be 47,300. So now let me check the answers. Dipanshi Sharma, your answer was correct. Very good, Dipanshi. Riya Bhatia, your answer is correct. Sairam, your answer is correct. Very good, Sairam. Mr. Gandhi, you need to practice a lot again. Vrinda Agarwal, incorrect answer. So guys, that is all what about the concept of equivalent number of units. I've tried covering each, I've tried to cover each and every concept well in detail. So this is all what about process costing. So those who want to copy this part can please copy, else we'll start with the fresh chapter, that is joint and byproduct. So giving you 2 minutes time now to copy this part, and whatever the queries you guys have, you guys can please post your queries relating to process costing, else we'll start directly with joint and byproduct. Yes, Pooja, your answer was correct. Very good, Mr. Sunil. Your answer was correct. So, anyways, guys, done with this chapter. So let's take a 10 minutes break and then we will start with a fresh chapter, that is joint and byproduct. So I request you guys to take a break of 10 minutes. Even you guys can have a cup of tea. Admin sir, let's take a break of 10 minutes and then we will start with the next part. Hello friends, hi, welcome back guys. We are done with the process costing now. In the last two sessions we discussed process costing, and in this session also we discussed a question relating to process costing. Now let's start with a fresh chapter, that is joint and byproduct guys. Now this chapter is not a new chapter. It is in continuation of the chapter what we have already discussed, that is process costing. Now what is the difference? That is, in process costing, whatever the cost that is incurred in the process, thereafter we were getting only one output from a particular process. So it was very easy for us to calculate the cost of that product. I repeat again, in process costing, from a particular process, only one type of product emerges out. So it was very easy for us to calculate the cost of that product. But what if in case, if from a particular process, two or more than two types of products emerge out? The question is how to calculate the cost of these two products, how to apportion the cost of that process among these two products. So that is a big question. So here in this case, this chapter comes into picture. So before starting with this chapter, let me discuss what is joint product and byproduct, and then we will discuss the remaining part. So when talking about joint product and byproduct, very simple guys, when two or more than two products emerge out from a particular process, and all these products have similar values or identical values or have significant values, then these products are known as joint products. So what is joint product guys? When two or more than two products emerge out from a particular process, all having significant values are joint products. So what is joint product? When from a particular process, if two or more than two products emerge out, and all these products that emerges out have significant value or have identical value, then these products are known as joint product. Let's say if we are into business of, let's say, refining of crude oil, and let's say 4-5 products emerge out. Let's say petrol emerges out, diesel, gasoline. And this process, let's call this process as refining of crude oil. So let's say there is a process which is called as refining of crude oil, and from that particular process, let's say 3 products emerge out: petrol, diesel, and gasoline. Now, these 3 products have significant value. Let's say the petrol value is, let's say, 110 rupees. The value of diesel is, let's say, 98 rupees. And gasoline value is, let's say, 96 rupees. So now all these 3 products are known as joint product. So I repeat again, guys. I think the PPT has been posted. Let me check. The PPT has already been uploaded, Ria. So guys, when talking about joint product, very simple guys, when two or more than two products emerge out from a particular process, both all having significant values or identical values are known as joint product. When talking about the example, let's say I'm into refining of crude oil, and in the process of refining, we are getting 3 to 4 products, let's say petrol, diesel, and gasoline. So all these are known as joint product. When talking about byproduct, guys, these byproducts we don't want to manufacture. They are the incidental waste that arises during the course of manufacture of main product. I repeat again, guys, we don't want to manufacture byproduct, but anyways, they are the incidental waste. What is this byproduct? Incidental waste arisen during the course of manufacture of main product. These products we don't want to manufacture. These are the incidental waste that arises during the course of manufacture of main product. So two parts, joint product and byproduct. Joint product when two or more than two products emerge out, when two or more than two products emerge out from a particular process, all having significant values or identical values are known as joint product. When talking about byproduct, these are the incidental waste that arises during the course of manufacture of main product. We can take the example that is molasses during the course of manufacture of sugar. I repeat again, the examples of byproduct, that is molasses during the course of manufacture of sugar from sugarcane. Apart from this, let's say milk is processed to manufacture butter. During the course of manufacture of butter, let's say buttermilk is produced. So this is what, this buttermilk is what, byproduct. So if you guys have any doubts till now, you guys can ask me. Let me check the PDF position now. No, Ria Bhatia, this is not an abnormal gain. Byproduct is not the abnormal gain. It is a separate product. So guys, if you guys have any doubts, what is joint product, byproduct, you guys can ask me. I repeat again, what is joint product? When two or more than two products emerge out from a particular process, all having significant or identical values are known as joint product. Example, in case of refining business, let's say petrol, diesel, and gasoline emerges out. So all these three products are known as joint product. When talking about byproduct, we don't want to manufacture. These are simply the incidental waste that arises during the course of manufacture of main product. Very simple, molasses during the course of manufacture of sugar from sugarcane. And let's say if we are processing milk, then the butter is the main product and the buttermilk is the byproduct. So those who want to copy this part can please copy, else we'll proceed further. Now guys, what is the purpose of this chapter, why we are studying this chapter. As far as joint and byproduct, what is joint byproduct and byproduct, it is already discussed. Now, what is the purpose of this chapter? Now, see, as I told you guys, in the process costing, what we were doing is, if from a particular process only one product emerged, or we have discussed the question till now, like there was a particular process, and from that process only one type of product emerged out. So it was very easy for us to calculate the cost of that product. But what if from a particular process, if two or more than two products emerge out? Let's say there is a process first, we incurred costs relating to material, that is input were made in the process. We incurred costs relating to labor and overheads. And after this process, let's say two products emerge out. Till now, what we discussed in process costing is that there was only one type of product that emerges out. So it was very easy for us to calculate the cost of that product. Now, what if in case, if two products emerge out from a particular process, let's say X and Y. Now the question is how to calculate the cost of X and Y. How to distribute the cost of this process first among these two X and Y. That is a big question. And in this chapter, we will be doing only this part, that is how to apportion the cost of a particular process among the two joint products and byproducts, whatever it is. Now further in this example, let's take one more situation wherein X is processed further into process second, and again in process second, certain costs were incurred. Let's say material, labor, and overheads. Further, product Y is also processed further in process third, and the costs incurred were material in process third, labor, and overheads. After further processing in process second, the final product of this process is, let's say, double X, and the final product of process third is, let's say, double Y. Now the major question is, what is the total cost of double X and double Y? Now see, whatever the cost that is of process second, we can easily say that this belongs to double X. Whatever the cost that is incurred in process third, we can say it is basically belongs to double Y. But the major problem is, what about the cost of process first? How to apportion the cost of process first, that we will be discussing in this chapter, that is joint and byproduct. Now, before starting with how to apportion the cost of process first, let me discuss few concepts. First concept that I want to discuss is what is joint cost. Now see, the cost that is incurred in the process first in this example is what? The joint cost. I repeat again, what is the joint cost? That is the cost. In this example, the cost incurred in process first is basically the joint cost. So what is joint cost? The cost incurred before the point of separation. Now herein a new point comes into picture, point of separation. So this is the point of separation, or we call it as split off point. So this is what we call as the point of separation or split off point. So now 2 points. What is split off point? This point, in this example, this is the split off point. And whatever the cost that is incurred prior to split off point, before split off point, are known as joint cost. So what is joint cost? Cost incurred prior to split off point are known as joint cost. So herein we discuss 2 points. The first one is joint cost, that is cost incurred prior to split of point. So in this example, whatever the cost that belongs to process first is the joint cost. Now when talking about split of point or point of separation, this is the point of separation. From this point, 2 products emerge out, that is X and Y. So this is called as the split of point or point of separation. Now, when talking about one more point, that is further processing cost. So what is further processing cost? In this example, for product X, the further processing cost is the cost of process second. For product Y, the further cost is the further processing cost is the cost of process third. So what is further processing cost? That is the cost incurred after the point of separation. So guys, we are discussing joint product and byproduct. Joint product, when 2 or more than 2 products emerge out, all having significant values, are known as joint product. Byproduct, these are the incidental waste that arises during the course of manufacture of main product, are known as byproduct. Why we are doing this chapter? Because in the earlier chapter, that is process costing, we were incurring the cost in a particular process and we were getting only one type of product as an output. So it was very easy for us to calculate the cost of that product. But in this case, let's say from a particular product, 2 products emerge out. Now the big question is how to calculate the cost of these 2 products. That's what we will be doing in this chapter, that is joint and byproduct. Now few terms, that is joint cost. In this example, the cost that is incurred in process first is the joint cost, wherein we call it as the pre-separation cost or cost before split of point. So what is joint cost? The cost incurred prior to the point of separation is joint cost. Herein, this is the point of separation. Now the next term is further processing cost, that is the cost incurred after the point of separation is further processing cost. In this example, the cost that is incurred in process second is the further processing cost of product X. Further, the cost that is incurred in process third is the further processing cost of product Y. So if you guys have any doubts in these points, that is what is joint cost, what is joint product, what is byproduct, what is the point of separation, what is further processing cost, whatever the queries you have, you guys can raise your queries. Waiting for your queries, guys. Now, apart from this, the major motto of costing is to calculate the cost of product. Now, as far as when calculating the cost of double X, whatever the cost that is of process second, that belongs to double X. Whatever the cost that is incurred in process third belongs to double Y. But major thing is, what about cost of process first? How to distribute the cost of process first? How to distribute the joint cost of process first among X and Y? That is a major question. And that is all what we will be doing in this chapter, joint and byproduct. That is apportionment of joint cost. Ms. Meman Rafiq Bhai, what is further processing cost? That is the cost that is incurred after the point of separation. So herein, the cost that is incurred in process second and process third is further processing cost. Sheikh Samir Javed, what you want me to explain? What all doubts you have? Can you please elaborate? So the major motto of this chapter, the major object of this chapter is how to apportion the cost that is incurred in process first so that we can calculate the final cost of product double X and double Y. I repeat again, The cost of process third belongs to double Y. The cost of process second belongs to double X. But what about process first? So the major question in this chapter is how to apportion the cost that is incurred in process first. That is all what we are doing in this chapter. That is apportionment of joint cost. So let's proceed further, guys. Yes, Miss Pooja. Sir, what happened if process second and process third have separate products? Again, we will apportion the cost of process second as well as process third. So wherein if from a particular process two products emerge out, then in that case, we have to apportion the joint cost of a particular process. Now let's start, guys, how to apportion. Now, keep the things very simple. This is the easiest chapter of the syllabus, and it's a bonus marks if the examiner do ask questions on joint and byproduct in exams. So let's start, guys. Now, let's start with the first method of apportionment of joint cost, that is market value at the point of separation. Now, guys, from process first, two products emerge out, let's say X and Y. And X is processed further in process second to get double X, and Y is processed further to get a product double Y. But let's say this X and Y has an active market. So let's say if we are not selling, some of our competitors are selling these products. So the market value of X and Y is available with us. So it's very easy for us to apportion the joint cost. I repeat again, guys. Let's say X can be readily sold in the market. Y also can be readily sold in the market without further processing. Let's say if we are not selling, few of our competitors are selling, so that the price is available for us. So in short, if the market price of X and Y is available, these products have an active market, then we can apportion the joint cost in the ratio of market value at split of point or point of separation. So this is the best approach, guys. If the market value of the joint products are given, the best thing is apportion the joint cost in the ratio of market value at split of point. I repeat again, let's say X and Y have an external market. These products can be easily sold in the market. These two products can be easily sold in the market. So now, since the market value of X and Y is available, better apportion the joint cost in the ratio of market value at split of point. Let's say the joint cost is incurred, let's say 1,20,000. This is our joint cost. Now, from process first, let's say two products emerge out, X and Y. Let's say X is 200 units and Y is, let's say, 300 units. Now these 200 units can be sold at 50, and let's say these 300 units can be sold at let's say let's say 20. So now, since X and Y has an active market, even though we are not selling, but our competitors are selling, so we have the market value of X and Y. So let's say from a particular process, two products emerge out, X and Y. Let's say X is 200 units, Y is 300 units. The price at which X can be sold in the market is at the rate 50, and Y that can, I mean, the price of Y that can be sold in the market, that is rupees 20. So we can allocate the joint cost in the ratio of market value at split of point. So our joint cost is rupees 1,20,000. When talking about market value, the market value of X will be 200 into 50, that is 10,000. And the market value of products of Y is 300 units at the rate 20, that is, let's say 3 to 6,000. So now we have the market value of the product that are output of process first. So we can allocate the joint cost in this ratio. So 1,20,000 shall be distributed in the ratio of 10:6. Let's say the joint cost is 48,000 to avoid the decimal figure. To avoid decimals, I have changed the joint cost, that is 48,000. So we will apportion the joint cost of 48,000 in the ratio of 10,000:6,000. So the joint cost will be, as apportion will be, for X it will be 30,000 and for Y it will be 18,000. We have apportioned in the ratio of 10,000:6,000. I repeat again, guys, the best approach to apportion the joint cost is, that is the market value at split of point. So if the intermediate product, let's say X and Y, are manufactured and they have an active market, the best approach is whatever the joint cost is, that is to be apportioned in the ratio of market value at split of point. So here in this case, let's say the joint cost is 48,000. From that process, two products emerge out, X and Y, of 200 units of X and Y is 300 units. This X can be sold in the market at the rate 50 and Y can be sold in the market at the rate 20. So we can easily calculate the market value, that is 200 into 50, that is 10,000. And 300 into 20, that is 6,000. So we have got the market value of product X and Y. So this joint cost of 48,000 will be distributed in this ratio, that is 10,000:6,000. So if you guys have any doubts till now, you guys can please ask me. Waiting for your queries, guys. Very good, Dipanshi. So we have discussed the first method, that is the market value at split of point. So if the market value is available, the best approach is distribute the joint cost in the ratio of market value at split of point. Those who want to copy this part can please copy the explanation. It will be very helpful for you while revising for the exams. Those who want to copy this part can please copy. Very good, Pooja. Now, let's take a different scenario. Let's say the market value is not given. The X and Y has no active market. I repeat again, let's say X and Y has no active market. Neither we have sold this product X and Y, nor any of our competitor has sold this product X and Y. Now the question is how to apportion the joint cost. I repeat again, guys, neither we have sold this X and Y, neither our competitor has sold this product X and Y. Now the question is how to apportion the joint cost. In this method, we were apportioning the joint cost in the ratio of market value. I repeat again, in this method, we were apportioning the joint cost Yes, Ria, Goel, your answer was correct. There is a query, sir, how you have calculated 30,000 and 18,000 from Samyak. See, the total joint cost is 48,000. We have to distribute in the ratio of 10,000 is to 6,000. That is 10 is to 6. So 10 is to 6. So 10 plus 6 is 16. So divided by 16 into 10. And for this 48,000 into 6 by 16. So this is how I calculated 30,000 and 18,000. Pooja, have some patience. I'll be addressing your query. So now this product, in this case, we were assuming that the product X and Y have an active market. But my point is, what if in case there is no active market of X and Y? Without further processing, they cannot be sold. Now, how to apportion the joint cost? Now, in this case, what we will do is, see, after further processing X, we are getting product double X. After processing further Y, we are getting double Y. And double X and double Y is our final product, so they can be sold in the market. So in that case, if the market value of X and Y is not given, we will calculate the dummy market value. I repeat again, we will calculate the dummy market value. That is, we will do the reverse calculation and we will calculate the dummy market value, and in that ratio, we will distribute the joint cost. I repeat again, guys, if the market value at split off point is given, we will apportion the joint cost in that ratio. But what if the market value at split off point is not given, we will calculate the dummy market value at the point of separation. And this method is called as net realizable value method. So let me discuss one more method, that is net realizable value method. Now see, product double X and double Y has an active market. So what we will do is, we'll take the sales price of double X and double Y. We'll take the sales price of double X and double Y. In this, we will reduce the cost that is incurred in process second and process third. That is what we call it as further processing cost. So minus the cost that is incurred in process second and third, that is called as further processing cost, will reduce. If any further selling expenses are incurred, we will also reduce. So the selling price of double X and double Y minus the selling expenses minus the further processing cost will get the net realizable value of X and Y. This is what we call as net realizable value. The dummy market value at split off point, it's just a name. Nowhere it is mentioned in the study material. It's just in our simple terms, we can say that we are calculating the dummy market value at split off point. It is what in simple term, it is the net realizable value at split off point. 1 second, guys. So guys, if the X and Y have an active market, we can distribute the cost in the ratio of the market value of at split off point. But let's say if X and Y has no active market, we'll calculate the dummy market value of X and Y. How come? by net realizable value method. That is, we'll go do the reverse calculation wherein the sales price, that is the sales value of double X and double Y, minus the selling expenses, minus the further processing cost, will get the dummy market value of X and Y, and that is what we call as net realizable value. So the joint cost will be distributed in the ratio of net realizable value. Those who want to copy this part can please copy. I'll be discussing this concept with the help of an example also. There is a query from Sumita, sir, why there is a difference in price of 50 and 20? They are same product. See, Sumita, when talking about joint and the joint product, they have some different values. Let's say from a particular process, 3 products emerge out, X, Y, and Z. Let's say X can be sold in the market at the rate 50, Y can be sold at the rate 100, but Z can be sold at the rate rupees 2 per unit. So we can say X and Y are the joint product and Z is the byproduct. So there may be difference in value, but yes, they should have some significant value. So in this example, we can easily figure out that X and Y have some significant value. So X and Y are the joint product and Z is the byproduct. So now let's discuss this concept of net realizable value with the help of an example. Let's say the joint cost is 64,500. Now, final output of A, let's say 2 products, that is X and Y. Let's say the final output of double X and double Y is 200 units. And let's say again for Y also it is 200 units. Further, this A, that final product double X and double Y can be sold in the market at the rate 170 per unit, and this can be sold at the rate 260 per unit. Now let's say the further cost, that is processing cost, that is incurred is 4,000 in case of process second, and let's say 3,200 in case of process third. I repeat again, let's say the further processing cost that is incurred in case of process second is 4,000 and process third is, let's say, 3,200. Now we have to apportion the joint cost. So very simple, since the market value of double X and double Y is with us and the further processing cost is with us, so we can calculate the dummy net realizable value of X and Y. So let's calculate the net realizable value of X and Y. Let's say the sales value of X is 200 units at the rate 170, that is 34,000. For Y, 200 units into 26, that is 52,000. Minus the further processing cost, that is, we will reduce the further processing cost. That is 4,000, assuming it is 32,000. So 4,000 and 32,000. So we will get the net realizable value of X and Y, that is 30,000 and 20,000. Assuming it is 32,000, 4,000 and 32,000. Now since we have the dummy market value of X and Y, so it's easy for us to apportion the joint cost. Let's say the joint cost is 64,500. It will be distributed in the ratio of 30:20. 30,000 is to 20,000. So this will be 38,700. $25,800. This is how the joint cost will be apportioned. I repeat again, guys. The first method is market value at split off point. So if the market value at split off point is given, apportion the joint cost in that ratio. But what if in case, one second, guys. Admin sir, are you there? Hello? Admin sir, are you there? The video got stuck or what? Okay, sir. Fine. So, guys, if the market value at split off point is given, it's very easy for us. If the market value at split off point is not given, we will calculate the dummy market value at split off point. That is, we will apportion the joint cost in the ratio of net realizable value. When talking about net realizable value, we'll take the selling price of the final product, that is double X and double Y, that we have got after further processing, minus the selling expenses, minus the further processing cost. This is how we will get the net realizable value of X and Y. So now we have got the dummy market value of X and Y. So the joint cost of 64,500 will be apportioned in the ratio of 30,000 is to 20,000. Very good, Pooja. Very good, Dipanshi. Now we have discussed two methods, that is market value at split off point and let's say net realizable value method. Now this is a widely used method. In most of the cases you can apply this method. But now what if in case, I repeat again, what if in case if some information is missing in the question? Let's say if in a particular case further processing cost is not given in the question. I repeat again, if in a particular question further processing cost is not given in the question, then we cannot calculate net realizable value. Then the question is how to apportion the joint cost. So herein one more method comes into picture, that is physical units method. Those who want to copy this part can please copy. Thereafter, I'll be discussing the third method, that is physical units method. Those who want to copy this part can please copy. Now let's proceed further, guys. Now, guys, what if in case certain information is missing in the question? See, if the best method is if the market value at split off point is given, distribute it in that ratio. But what if if the market value at split off point is not given, then we'll calculate the dummy market value. That is, we will use the net realizable value method. But what if in case we cannot calculate the net realizable value only? Let's say if in a particular question further processing cost is missing, then the question is how to apportion the joint cost. So the next method here comes into picture, that is physical units method. In this method, the joint cost is allocated in the ratio of units that are manufactured. I repeat again, in this method, the joint cost will be apportioned in the ratio of units that are manufactured. Let's say the joint cost incurred is, let's say, 50,000 rupees. And let's say from process first two products emerge out X and Y. Let's say 200 units of X emerges out and 300 units of Y emerges out. Now, in that case, we can simply apportion the joint cost 50,000 in the ratio of 200 is to 300. I request you guys to follow the order, follow the steps, follow the order or follow the pattern. If market value at split off point is given, apportion the joint cost in that ratio. If market value at split off point is not given, then use net realizable value method. But what if in case if we cannot calculate the net realizable value method, we cannot calculate the net realizable value as the if some information is missing in the question, then next we can apply physical units method. That is, the joint cost will be apportioned in the ratio of finished. The joint cost will be apportioned in the ratio of finished goods that are manufactured. So herein in this case, 50,000 will be apportioned in the ratio of 2:3. That is 20,000 is to 30,000. If you guys have any doubts, Miss Madhavi Bhandarkar, sir, why joint cost is apportioned on net realizable value and not on cost basis? See, in this chapter, the major question is how to apportion the joint cost. That is, whatever the cost that is incurred in a particular process, how to apportion that joint cost. So there are the various method and a pattern by pattern approach. So you have to follow the approach. So physical method, units method, the most easiest method, that is, let's say X 200 units were manufactured and let's say Y 300 units were manufactured. So the joint cost will be apportioned in the ratio of 200:300, that is 2:3. Now, there are few more methods that are given in the study material, that is contribution margin method. Now see, if in a particular question information is given as regards variable cost or fixed cost, it is a hint that joint cost is to be apportioned in the ratio of joint cost is to be apportioned as per contribution margin method. I repeat again, guys. If in question some hints are given as regards variable cost, fixed cost, so in that case, you have to apply this contribution margin method. Right from beginning, I'm explaining the things once again. If the market value at split off point is given, the best method, market value at split off point. If the market value at split off point is not given, the next method is net realizable value method. But what if in case if we cannot calculate the net realizable value, then we will use physical units method. Thereafter, if some information is given in the question as regards variable cost or fixed cost, then we have to use contribution margin method. Now, in contribution margin method, the costs are classified in two parts, that is variable cost and fixed cost. Total cost will be divided in two parts, that is variable cost and fixed cost. The total cost of a joint process, that is process first, will be divided in two parts, that is variable cost and fixed cost. The variable cost will be apportioned in the ratio of physical units. As far as fixed cost is concerned, it will be apportioned in the ratio of contribution. When talking about contribution, what is contribution? That is sales minus variable cost. So I repeat again, guys, if some hints are given in question as regards variable cost or some information is given as regards variable cost or fixed cost, this is an indication that you have to apportion the joint cost in the ratio of contribution margin method. When talking about contribution margin method, the total cost will be classified or divided in two parts, that is variable cost and fixed cost. Variable cost will be apportioned in the ratio of physical units, and fixed cost will be apportioned in the ratio of contribution as calculated. And how contribution is calculated? That is sales minus variable cost. So whatever the doubts you have, you guys can please ask me, and those who want to copy this part can please copy. Now let me discuss this contribution margin method with the help of an example. Let's say the sales value is given, that is 100 and 120. Let's say there are two products, let's say A and B. The sale value is given, that is 100 units of A were produced, and let's say 120 units of B was produced. The selling price is given in the question. I'm taking an example wherein find out the cost of joint product A and B. We have to apportion the joint cost among A and B using contribution margin method, wherein the sales is given, that is 100 units and 120 units of A and B. The selling price is given, that is at the rate 60, at the rate 30. Further, the joint cost is given, that is marginal cost and fixed cost. Variable cost and fixed cost is given in the question, and that is 4,400 and 3,900. Now we have to apportion the joint cost, guys. So using contribution margin method. So sales is, now we'll first apportion the joint cost, that is the variable cost. As I told you, variable cost will be apportioned in the ratio of physical units. So the variable cost is 4,400 rupees. It will be apportioned in the ratio of physical units, that is A and B, that is 100 is to 120. So 4,400 will be apportioned in the ratio of 100 is to 120. This will be 2,000 and this will be 2,400. So this is how the variable cost will be apportioned. When talking about fixed cost, it is apportioned in the ratio of contribution, and contribution is sales minus variable cost. So let's calculate contribution. The sales, that is 6,000 and 3,600 minus variable cost, that is we have apportioned the variable cost in the ratio of physical units. So that is 2,000 and 2,400. So we'll get the contribution, that is 4,000 and 1,200. Now we have the fixed cost of 3,900. So fixed cost of 3,900 will be apportioned in the ratio of contribution, that is 4,000 is to 1,200. So this will be 3,000 and this will be 900. So this is how the joint cost is apportioned. Yes, this example is there in the study material. So in contribution margin method, some hints will be given is in the question as regards variable cost and fixed cost. So this is an indication that you can apply contribution margin method. And in contribution margin method, the cost will be divided in two parts, that is fixed cost and variable cost. Variable cost will be apportioned in the ratio of physical units, and fixed cost will be apportioned in the ratio of contribution. So herein we have apportioned the variable cost of 4,400 in the ratio of 100 is to 120. And as far as fixed cost is concerned, since it is apportioned in the ratio of contribution, so we have first calculated contribution. That is 6,000 sales and 3,600 sales minus the variable cost as apportioned, that is 2,000 and 2,400. This is how we will get the contribution. So in that ratio, the fixed cost will be apportioned, that is 3,000 and 900. So the total cost of A and B that is apportioned is variable cost is 2,000 and 2400, and the fixed cost is 3900. So total 5000 is the cost that is apportioned to A, and 3300 is the cost that is apportioned to B. I hope this part is clear to you guys. If you guys have any doubts in this contribution margin method, you guys can please ask me. Waiting for your queries, guys. Those who want to copy this part can please copy. Now let's proceed further. You guys can take the screenshot. Now, apart from this, there is one more method that is given in the study material, that is market value after further processing. Since the method itself says market value after further processing, so whatever the joint cost is, it is to be apportioned in the ratio of market value after further processing. Let's say the joint cost is, let's say 60,000. Now, of double X and double Y, let's say some units were manufactured and they can be sold in the market at the rate, let's say 40,000 and 20,000. Whatever the output that is of product double X can be sold for 40,000 and of double Y can be sold for 20,000. So this is what the market value of double X and double Y. So herein the joint cost of 60,000 will be apportioned in the ratio of 40,000 is to 20,000. That is, the final answer will be 40,000 and 20,000. I repeat again, if it is market value after further processing, it means what? They are talking the sales value of double X and double Y. I repeat again, if they are talking about market value after further processing, it means what? The sales value of double X and double Y. So let's say the sales value of double X and double Y is 40,000 and 20,000. That is units into sales price. That is 40,000 and 20,000. So the joint cost of 60,000 will be apportioned in the ratio of 40,000 is to 20,000. So the joint cost apportion will be 40,000 and 20,000. Now, this is all about apportionment of joint cost. A final briefing. If the market value at split off point is given, you have to apportion the joint cost in that ratio only. If it is not given, then check, can we calculate the net realizable value? If yes, then apportion the joint cost in the ratio of net realizable value. But let's say if we cannot calculate the net realizable value only, let's say if certain information is missing in the question as regards further processing cost or whatever it is, then we cannot calculate net realizable value. Then we'll use physical units method. Now, this method can be used only when some information is given in the question as regards fixed cost or variable cost. Then only this method will apply. Now, this method, that is market value after further processing, if the question is clearly clearly asking you to apply this method, then only you have to apply this method. So from examination point of view, if the examiner is asking you to use a particular method to apportion the joint cost, then you have to use that method. But however, if the question is silent, then you have to use this approach. So if you guys have any doubts, you guys can ask me. Yes, Jay, it's a very easy chapter. So this is all what about apportionment of joint cost. So if you guys have any doubts, you guys can please ask me. Waiting for your queries, guys. Riya Bhatia, sir, what is the difference in market value in NRV method and the method of market value after further processing? See, in NRV method, Riya, whatever the market value is of double X and double Y, we deduct the further processing cost. And this is how we get the net realizable value method. Net realizable value. But herein, we are directly apportioning the cost in the ratio of market value. I repeat again, Riya, as far as this method is concerned, we are simply taking the sale value of double X and double Y. But in the NRV method, we are calculating the dummy market value of X and Y, not double X and double Y. So when talking about X and Y dummy market value, the market value of double X and double Y minus the further processing cost of process second and third, we will get the net realizable value of X and Y. Thank you so much, Mr. Mridul. Thanks for the compliment. Thank you so much, Sairam. No, Jay, only one session is allotted for joint and byproduct for this session. This time, you can refer the session of my previous batch. It will be very helpful for you because I have discussed few questions also on joint and byproduct. So anyways, thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much, Riya. Anyways, guys, now let's discuss the concept of byproduct also. Now, guys, treatment of byproduct. Very simple, guys. If the byproduct is of small value, if the byproduct is of small value, then very simple, guys, whatever the amount that is realized on sale of byproduct, either deduct it from the joint cost that what we were doing in process. From the total cost, we were deducting the scrap value. So similarly, in that case also, from the joint cost, we will deduct the value that is realized on sale of byproduct. So if the byproduct is of small value, then the first treatment is, that is, we can either deduct the scrap value realized on sale of byproduct from joint cost. So the first treatment that is possible is Still the session is not over, guys. So deduct the scrap value that is realized on sale of byproduct from the joint cost. Alternatively, will transfer the sale value of byproduct to credit side of costing P&L. So you can follow any of the approach. That is, if the byproduct is of smaller value, let's say during the course of manufacture of buttermilk is produced, and if this buttermilk is sold, let's say for 2,000 rupees, then either we can deduct 2,000 from the joint cost, or we can directly transfer 2,000 to the costing P&L credit side. So deduct the scrap value that is realized on sale of byproduct from joint cost, or transfer the sales value of byproduct to the credit side of P&L account, costing P&L. Now, if the byproduct is of substantial value, is of significant value, अभी stuck है? How come? Wait a second, sir. क्या हो गया? एक मिनट सर रुकिए. Sorry for the technical disturbance, guys. Anyways, so discussing this part again, if the byproduct is of smaller value, deduct the scrap value realized from the joint cost, or transfer the amount received to the costing P&L directly. Now, what if in case if the product is of significant value? So treat that product as main product. We will not treat that byproduct as the byproduct. We will treat that byproduct as main product. Now, the third case, if byproduct requires further processing. Let's say I do manufacture shirts, and while stitching the shirt, certain part of the fabric is scrap. Now that scrap fabric is stitched again to manufacture a mask. So if byproducts require further processing, in that case, in the same example, the scrap product, that is the fabric that is left out, is further processed to convert them into mask. So now if byproduct requires further processing, so we'll check after further processing. We will check the value of that product. I repeat again, I do manufacture shirt, and during the course of stitching the shirt from a fabric, certain part of fabric is scrapped out. That scrap fabric is again further processed to convert them into mask. So after further processing, we will check whether the product is of smaller value or substantial value. So after further processing, if of product is of smaller value or product of significant value. So after further processing, if the product is of smaller value, we'll follow this treatment. If the product is of significant value, then it will no longer be a byproduct, it will be the main product. So this is all what about treatment of byproduct. There are few queries. Let me check. Mr. Vivek, sir, if the question is silent, which method of apportionment we should use? I have already explained you in detail the approach you have to follow as far as the uses of method is concerned. Yes, Namrata, NRV is the value. NRV value is basically the dummy market value, that is the net realizable value at split off point. And market value of the after further processing market value after further processing means what? The market value of XX and XY. Thank you so much, Sairam. Yes, Ria, you will be able to. Now, guys, this is all what about treatment of byproduct. I repeat again, if the byproduct is of very small value, then yes, what you have to do is whatever the amount that is realized on sale of byproduct, you can either deduct it from the joint cost or you can transfer directly to costing P&L credit side. If they are of significant value, treat them as a main product. But if the byproducts require further processing, then after further processing, if the byproduct is still of smaller value, we'll follow this treatment. And if it is of significant value, we'll follow this treatment. So if you guys have any doubts in as far as treatment of byproduct is concerned, you guys can please ask me. Those who want to copy this chart can please copy. Thank you so much, Veeralakshmi. Thank you so much, Siddharth. Anyone else having any doubts in this part, you guys can please ask me. Guys, this time the time is not sufficient for joint and byproduct. I wish I could discuss few questions of past exams on joint and byproduct, but see the time is running and I have to wind up the session. So if we have some time in the query session, I'll discuss one question on joint and byproduct to cover all the concepts that I have discussed in this session. But a tip for you, if you guys are solving the questions from the study material and past practice manual, a tip for you guys, just try to prepare the extracts of the question. See, I have prepared a chart. Explaining all the method. So guys, while solving question, I request you to prepare such a kind of chart. That is, this much is the joint cost. These are the products that emerge out. This is the further processing cost. The final product, that is AA and BB, the sale value for the same. So in every question, try to prepare this format, this chart. I assure you guys, you will be able to solve each and every question very smoothly. So this is a request of mine to follow this approach. This is the easiest approach because generally the questions are lengthy and so many information is given in the question. So sometimes the student get confused how to approach the question. So very simple. prepare this chart, and whatever you are reading in the question, just try to write in this chart. Once this chart is ready, you can apply any of the method that what the examiner is asking. So I'll surely discuss one question now. See, two things are pending till now. The machine hour rate question that is in overheads, and one practical question which covers all the methods of joint and byproduct. So these 2 points I will be discussing in the query session, guys. So I tried my level best to cover all the concepts relating to process costing and joint byproduct costing. I request you guys to solve each and every question of joint byproduct and process. I have covered the point of abnormal gain also in this session relating to process costing. So I hope I have covered everything in detail relating to process costing. I understand I'm not been able to completely cover the joint and byproduct because I have to discuss few questions. But anyways, it's a tip from my side that try to prepare the chart and write your extracts while reading the question. Whatever the point you are reading, you just write down in this chart. I assure you guys, you'll be able to solve each and every question of joint and byproduct. So a final call. Try to solve all the questions of study material. Try to solve all the questions of past practice manual of process costing and joint byproduct costing. There is no alternate of hard work and practice. So practice a lot will surely clear the exams. So that's it for the day. Thank you for your participation in the session. I got answers from many of you guys. So thank you for that. Until then, take care. See you soon, guys, for the next chapter, that is service costing. Take care, guys. God bless you. See you soon. Sir, I'm done with the session.